from the Nicholson School of Communication studio at the University of Central Florida. I'm Devin Cafaro. RTDNA presents the 2014 SGA Presidential Debate. We want to thank our co-sponsor, the SGA Election Commission. We also want to welcome everyone in our live studio audience and our viewers watching this debate live at home on Bright House Channel 21, in the Student Union, and in the Recreation and Wellness Center. You can also follow the debate on our Twitter feed. Our hashtag is KnightsVote14. Joining us in the studio, we have the current student director of Nightcast, Jessica Gottsleben, who's running for president, with her vice presidential candidate, Luctwin Luck, who's currently the secretary for Student Veterans of America. Also joining us is the current president pro tempore of the Senate, Weston Bays, running for president, with the president of the Alpha Epsilon Phi sorority, Sydney Altfield, running for vice president. Let's begin with tonight's rules. Each ticket will have up to 2 minutes to respond to questions. 1-minute follow-up questions can also be asked at the discretion of the moderator. We will also be taking student questions from our audience and from Twitter. Now, let's get started. Campaigns can sometimes get very negative and competitive between candidates. So with that being said, let's try to start off on a more positive note. Weston and Sydney, why do you think Jessica and Luck would be great student leaders if elected?
Well, I think when you really look at presidential elections and the two candidates that you do have running, we've obviously both done the right things to get to this place. We've made big impacts on this campus, and I think we both deserve to be running. Jessica, obviously, with her OSI experience in Nightcast and different various university boards that she sits on, I think she has a great knowledge of administration. I think Luck brings to the table a very different perspective of whether it be a transfer student or a veteran. I think that's something that we haven't seen in a while, so I think it's very, very beneficial.
Sydney?
It's really important to have a lot of knowledge about the backgrounds, and I think having them come from different backgrounds and putting it together and having that knowledge together is really important if they were elected.
Thank you. And now, Jessica and Luck, why do you think Weston and Sydney would be great student leaders if elected?
I've had the opportunity to work with Weston for a number of years now, as well as Sydney. Like Weston said, we have an experience working on different boards and different councils within the university. Weston really does bring a great perspective of student government, as well as the fiscal side of a lot of the things that we see in student government that a lot of students really don't understand. And additionally, Sydney has a great understanding of Greek life, being a president of a sorority, but also an understanding of OSI and a lot of the large-scale events that we put on that affect the students in a large way.
I would say that Weston and Sydney will make great president and vice president because of their involvement and their passion for the UCF and the student body. Obviously, their involvement, Weston being the president pro tempore. And so, being in that position takes a great, I would say, time and effort. And as well as for Sydney, being the president of her sorority, that also requires a lot of time and effort. And I think that if you are a student leader in these positions, that only just shows that they do have the compassion and the experience to do so.
Thank you. And now, on the other hand, why do you believe you are the more qualified team to be the next student body president and vice president? Jessica and Luck?
One of the things we've been telling students over, the number of weeks that we've been campaigning and just getting the chance to really speak with them is that we bring something that the Student Government Association hasn't really had for the student body, really allowing them to see that they can be represented in their student government, whether they are not Greek affiliated, transfer, more traditional students, Marine veterans or any service veterans, allowing them to see that their voice really does deserve to be heard. And we have a different mindset. We come from a different world. We've had the SGA experience, but we've also had a little bit of the outside SGA experience. So we understand the disconnect that students sometimes feel with their Student Government Association and the decisions that are made.
I would say that, like Sydney was saying, as far as our experiences, yes, we are different, but bringing it together, what that will do is basically widen our scope of our leadership. I'm not your typical college student. I'm a transfer student and non-traditional. I served 6 years in the Marine Corps, and so my experiences will be very beneficial as far as what I have learned. I've seen a lot in terms of how to, lead a group of Marines. Obviously, this is not the military. However, A lot of those experiences are transferable, and with Jessica and her involvement is quite extensive, and I would say her knowledge is definitely very valuable for this position.
Thank you. And now, Weston, Sydney, what about you? Why do you think you're the best qualified for the job?
I think when you look at Sydney and I together, we bring something that we've known each other since freshman year, and we've proven our working relationship and that we can really get things accomplished together. We've both served for a very long time in two different areas. Sydney's been in SGA as well, and I OSI. But I think all those experiences kind of lead us to know how to implement things, and I think we would be able to hit the ground running as soon as we would get elected, because it's kind of just back of our hand now to understand the processes and how to get things done and how to make sure our platform would be accomplished.
We definitely come from all various realms of campus, whether it's Greek life, SGA, OSI, RSOs. Weston, he talks to these RSOs on a daily basis. He writes the bills for these RSOs. We're not just one type of campus. We're not one type of leader. So if we were elected into this position, we definitely have the knowledge and we have the connections already with the faculty, with the administration, with the people that we need to have the relationships with. So it would just be something that would go naturally for us.
Thank you. And now, moving in a new direction, the Activity and Service Fee Budget Committee recently cut about $900,000 from the budget due to over projections of student credit hours. So, Weston and Sydney, how do you plan to consolidate services without negatively affecting students, and how can you prevent this from happening in the future?
Yeah, as vice chair of ASF, I've basically been working on consolidating that for the past about 5 months now. So that's something that I've really come to have a knowledge of and understand. And we really, when we looked at the budget, we wanted to make sure that we weren't cutting students' services. We didn't want to have students really feel an impact of those cuts. We looked for places that students could really, still get by and it would go kind of unnoticed. But what we did leave, we made sure that those things are going to work well. And when you look at ASF, those funds should really be used to keep people on campus and make sure they keep taking more credit hours so the ASF budget still stays up. So if you really use those funds well and where they're going and understand how they can benefit students, I think that's something that's very beneficial and bring that to the table.
A lot of our platform, although there are new services on there, a lot of it is kind of revamping the services that we already have so that we aren't spending excess amount of money on building new things, on bringing on new things. We're taking what we have and just making it better so that students are getting the most out of the services that we already offer.
Thank you. And Jessica and Luck, how will you consolidate during your term, and how can you prevent this from happening in the future?
I've also had the opportunity, like Weston said, to work with the Activity and Service Fee directly as a director within the Office of Student Involvement, but also looking at the credit hour shortfall, serving on University Fee Committee. When we were looking at, where to make increases, where to make decreases, where to make adjustments on those fees, we're really looking at what can the students afford, how many classes can they take, because that's the reason the credit hour shortfall was happening. We've noticed that students who can't afford to be here were losing nights that way. They're leaving school because they can't afford the classes, so they're taking less credit hours, but we don't want them to see less services. We want to provide even more resources for them with the money we have. In addition to being more fiscally responsible, we want to implement the audit system. As a director, I personally was affected by that. I got to go through the audit process as an agency. So we want to increase the amount of audits we're doing with the agencies and departments to see, are we really allocating the money properly, and are the directors using the money to the best of their ability so that we don't use up too much of it or too little of it. But we also have an SGA ambassadors program that we're implementing that Luck can talk a little bit more about that really will engage the students.
Just like Jessica was saying, as far as the SGA Ambassador Program, you can find creative ways that doesn't necessarily exhaust resources. These resources that we're hopefully, implementing is that it will create opportunities for students to be involved without actually pulling out money from the budget. And so with that being said, it's finding ways where when you do have a shortfall, finding ways where you can be creative and ensuring that, creating new opportunities. And because that's what students are hoping for, is opportunities to be involved.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. When we come back, we'll dive into each team's platforms. In the meantime, take a look at presidential candidate Jessica Gottsleben and learn what she's doing at UCF to honor her leadership skills.
So I'm a fourth-year student at UCF, and I am a double major dual degree in radio, television, broadcast journalism, and political science pre-law with a minor in public administration and a leadership studies certificate. The two things I'm most involved with in terms of organizations at UCF would be Nightcast and Nighthon. I am the director for Nightcast. My employees and my staff members and all of that, they call me Boss Lady. And I'm also involved, like I said, with Nighthon. I am a Nighthon morale dancer, so the students that are up on the stage that teach the dance and really get everyone excited and keep the students going when it's 20 hours in and you can't feel your legs, we're the ones that keep you jumping, keep you happy, and our goal as a morale team is to keep up morale and remind the students that we're standing for the miracle children. So when they're dancing with us, we want to remind everyone, you know, why we're here and why it's so fun.
Okay.
When I watched us win the Fiesta Bowl, I was sitting with a group of friends and it meant a lot because I haven't really seen that camaraderie in a while from the UCF Knights. I go to lots of sporting events and I love UCF athletics, but my favorite memory was just seeing everyone come together in that moment when people thought of us as an underdog and we're amazing. And finally, it was that moment when the entire country, if not the world, said, oh my goodness, UCF is really talented, and they just did something nobody else thought they could do. So being in an environment where people were cheering and screaming and just seeing that happen was amazing. I chose UCF because personally, I believe it's the best university in the entire world. We are definitely the best university and the best college in the nation. But when I was looking through schools, I definitely knew UCF was the best school in the entire state of Florida. I decided I wanted to stay in the state of Florida, and that's when I had to make that decision. Well, what school has the best programs? People don't realize the Burnett Honors College is nationally recognized. The Lead Scholars Program, there are very few things like that in the entire country at any other university. So for me, I saw the Lead Scholars Program, I saw the Burnett Honors College, and I saw the amazing traditions and the environment. You know, we're this huge school, and I like having that environment. I like all of these people to work with and to learn about. So for me, it was the perfect fit. It wasn't even a thought process. I was like, staying in Florida, going to UCF.
And welcome back to the 2014 SGA Presidential Debate. Both candidates released their platforms last week, and the information can be found on each of their websites. Weston and Sydney's platform can be found on their website at standunited.com. Jessica and Luck's website is jessicaluck2014.com. Now let's continue. Both tickets have a long list of platform points they hope to achieve if elected. With the recent tragedy we had near campus, the issue of pedestrian safety has been a concern for students. Jessica and Luck, what does your platform offer that can help improve pedestrian safety?
We have a very extensive platform, including a section directly related to safety, not just on pedestrian safety, but also security for on-campus and off-campus housing, whether that be Greek-affiliated or not Greek-affiliated. We have everything from ensuring student safety even when they're inside of the student union, making sure there are AEDs available so that students, in case of an emergency, feel safe. In terms of pedestrian safety, we are working directly with the police department already, and I'll let Luck elaborate on that, but we are looking at lighting on Alafaya and different pieces of, are the lights really working, making sure that students know how to get from one place to another safely, even on campus with the SEPS program, revamping everything and really revolutionizing knighthood so that students can feel safe on and off campus.
Safety is an issue 24/7 all the time, and we were serious about making steps and meeting with Officer Stephen with the police department. After speaking with them, I believe that they're definitely taking the right steps in ensuring pedestrian safety. This week or recently, they've started the pedestrian safety campaign, ensuring that students are doing what they need to do, ensuring that they're safe. Because part of the being safe is the own students' responsibility, as well as friends that are with them. And as far as the incident with Brooke Dawkins, is very unfortunate. The thing is that situations like that, we definitely we can do more in terms of like Western Sydney providing or suggesting a pedestrian bridge. But what we are serious about is safety now, and so we are taking steps, ensuring that there's safe lightings, ensuring that students are doing what they need to do, crossing the pedestrian walkway where they need to, and so safety is something that we need to do now.
Thank you. And now, Western Sydney, one of your platform points deals specifically with pedestrian safety with building a bridge over Alafaya Trail. So how exactly do you plan to implement this?
We looked at our platform and came up with everything. Campus safety was one of the big components of it. We felt as though campus safety obviously has been a big issue in the past couple of weeks and months, but it's been something that's been present for years. It's a definite problem. Our university's grown so fast, and we haven't had the ability to really keep up with that. So when we thought about the bridge, it was kind of to put us back on the right track and create that movement to really be aware of pedestrian safety and what's going on around the streets around campus and in the off-campus housing as well. So the way we really want to get this done, it wouldn't be using student funds at all. It would be using state and county and city funds to really make that bridge happen. It would involve lobbying at the state level. There have been plans that have been made for this in the past, but no one's really taken the effort or the initiative to push through and really get past the bureaucracy of it all and get it done. And we really believe that we can do that.
It's definitely a big issue. It has been for years now, not just now because of the unfortunate death of Brooke Dawkins. And, so many things have happened before that this is a time now where it's like hitting people where, we need to take a stance we need these students to feel the safety that they are coming to campus safely and going from campus safely. Because if we don't have that culture, if we don't have that safe culture, then that's not good for this largest school in Florida. We need to make sure that we have the culture of safety while they're coming to campus, not just when they're on campus.
Thank you. And now, just as a 1-minute follow-up, Weston Sydney, you mentioned we would be lobbying for this at the state level, and Gray Robinson is our lobbying firm for the 2014 to 2015 fiscal budget. We are allocating $60,000 to them. So how exactly will this plan play into that $60,000 specifically?
Yeah, when you look at that, Gray Robinson is a great resource, and I think they're often underutilized as our resource. I was speaking with actually 3 of the representatives yesterday at Day at the Capitol, and they love SGA, they love student body presidents, and they want to make sure that we're really putting our voice out there. And I think they understand that we haven't really used them to the full potential at this point. When you look at that money and where it's supposed to go to and how it can help, it's to help student needs and really voice the needs of the students. And if that involves a pedestrian bridge and just greater campus safety in general, then I think that's something that's completely useful.
But do you know how much money we'll be allocating to lobby for this bridge?
I don't know the specific amount of how much you'd be allocating. Gray Robinson is really there when we can't be there, so that's something that we would always be discussing with them and keeping up with them.
Okay, thank you. And we currently spend about $130,000 to operate Nightlink's bus service every year. Now, expanding Nightlink's bus routes is on both of your platforms. Weston and Sydney, where exactly do you expand to plan the service, and how will you implement this?
Nightlinks, when you look at it, actually in the ASF budget, we cut some of the funds for next year, and there will be a little bit less money in the budget, but we felt as though when we talked about consolidating and making services better, Nightlinks was something that was a huge issue. A lot of students really don't even know where Nightlinks goes, and we wanted to make sure that to consolidate that and have students aware of they can take this and be safe and come to campus and go to campus late at night. That's something that was really important to us, and that's not using more money. That's making sure students understand the services they already have, and that's one of the big things about our platform. And Sydney is very passionate about this, so I'll turn it over to her.
Definitely, I wouldn't say we would be expanding it, but we would changing the routes that are relevant to the students at this point. Buildings are going up, the plaza is going up, university, there's so many businesses down there, there's so many restaurants and places that students go to that this Nightlinks bus, as of right now, doesn't go to. So we wouldn't be expanding it and putting more money into it to make it go longer hours or more places, but we were just making it more relevant to students so that they do feel the need that, oh, I have this bus service, I can use it. We want to start the culture of feeling that I have this to rely on, I can use this to the best of that we give them. So it wouldn't be really definitely expanding it, but it would be utilizing it to the full potential that it has.
Thank you. And now, Jessica and Luck, you plan to create a new track to downtown Orlando for students with internships. How exactly do you plan to achieve this?
When we decided we wanted to put that on our platform, that had a lot to do with the fact that I can relate to students that don't have vehicles. I have not been able to do internships off campus, and a lot of students have had that effect where they don't have a vehicle. They may live on campus or off campus and just take the basic shuttle to campus, but they don't have the ability to get, to downtown Orlando to actually do an internship, which is detrimental to their education, which is something that's very important to us. I've had the opportunity to work on the university fee committee, as well as working directly with transportation and the administrators over in transportation services. So what we're looking at, similar to what they were saying in looking at how effective it is, the routes that we currently have, we want to look at the routes that we have at night, as well as the money that's going into it, and just be able to move the money around. It may be a small increase, but not by much. And transportation services, we've done some increases in allocations on university fee this year for the next fiscal year. So we want to work with them directly to make sure that if there are surpluses, if the money is there and we can just revamp the routes a little bit to provide something in the day for students that would really impact their education, then we're ready to do it. Because if the money is there, and we've worked with transportation before, so we know it is, we can really revolutionize the way students are getting to and from campus in a safe way, but not just at night, but in the day too, for educational purposes.
We talk about effectiveness. I think what using this terminology is the fact that students are probably not using it to the full extent, meaning that they don't either know or just not enough students are using it. So part of that is promoting the fact that these bus services happen or are available, but also as far as the transportation going for downtown for internships, there's already a bus route there to downtown. It just allowing that opportunity for students to actually go to downtown for internships.
Thank you. And Jessica and Luck, just as a 1-minute follow-up, I spoke to SGA Facility and Transportation Coordinator, Mr. Minglardi, who told me that a plan like this is not within the scope of Nightlinks and would be very expensive given our decreasing budget. So what is your response to that? How will you overcome those financial obstacles?
We've actually been discussing this in recent debates, and Weston had one of the best quotes I've heard, that when you hear no, you keep fighting back. And what's happening is the current SGA administration, as well as, recent and past administrations, they have moved money around, but it's been more so activity and service fee based on executive cabinet and different resources like that, not necessarily on transportation. So with the grocery shuttle and things like that this year, that was more of the focus. So our focus is really making sure that the money is used properly for Nightlinks and then adding the route that way. So it is in the scope, just not something that was within this year's scope, but for the next fiscal year.
To add on to that, as far as the infrastructure is already there, as I said earlier, there's already a bus route to downtown. It's just that students, it's not available for students to use for free. Whereas bus or the night links that we have, students are able to use it, and so the infrastructure is already there. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Jessica and Luck, if you get elected, what is the very first platform point you'll speak about with your cabinet and begin implementing?
On a personal level, I really hope that it is the SGA Ambassadors Program, because for us, I don't want to say it's the easiest to implement, but it's the most efficient way to implement it, because it's about getting applications out there. With a new Ambassadors Program, that is something that will be going out immediately. Applications will be open. Students can become a part of that. It's not SBPAC, it's not SLC, it's not the Justice League, but students can immediately apply to be a part of that and work with the administration, because we want as many students as possible in the program. And then we're breaking them up into groups so that they're with students they typically wouldn't meet. And then we can set up the events and these service programs we want them to reach out to throughout the year, so they can already start in summer going to activities, going to things they might not go to. And it really allows the new freshmen over summer to also get involved right off the bat as soon as we take office.
Yes, this program is actually open for most students or all students, because typically the language has changed for the SBPAC and the SLC. These are committees that typically, freshmen are participating, but with the SGA Ambassador Program, allows students who are juniors, freshmen, transfer to be involved in. Again, this is expanding opportunities for students to be involved in. I think it's important to have this program because it allows SGA to be part or more inclusive with the community.
Thank you. And now, Weston and Sydney, what is the very first platform point you'll be discussing with your cabinet? if you are elected?
When we really look at our cabinet and getting them in and starting everything, we would definitely want to initiate the process with Gray Robinson and get everything started with the bridge. But I think the one that we would really start with personally would be the RSO Resource Center. That's something that needs to be accomplished and needs to be done. There's a lot of changes going on with where offices are and where they're being located. And RSOs need space. They need the ability to come and print things, organize, have supplies. And that's something that would be a really great thing going to the fall to kind of set new and make sure these RSOs can set up for success going to the fall.
It kind of ties into our slogan, Stand United. We want to make sure that these RSOs, that these students are coming together and having these resources to be in using it together. Hopefully, if this RSO resource the center is made, if we are in office, RSOs can come to this place and meet each other. They'll be able to see what other RSOs are doing and be able to see what they're working on and how they can help each other and really standing united as a campus.
Thank you. And now, in years past, sometimes we see platform points that don't get accomplished. So, Weston and Sydney, what do you think will be the most challenging platform point, and how will you face that challenge?
I think obviously the bridge would be the most challenging one. And when we thought about this and put it on the platform, it wasn't something like we were just trying to slap a platform point on there and put our name on it. This is something that we know it could be an extensive process, but we want to make sure that we get it started. And if it ends up happening after we're out of office, then I think that's great. We made a difference and we made it happen, and we started something that wasn't moving. But this is something that we're very passionate about, and we think that we can get it done. And when you're looking at an election year in the state government, I think this is a very crucial time that we can really push this agenda and make legislators aware, and the new governor as well.
Thank you. And now, Jessica and Luck, which one of your platform points do you think will be the most challenging, and how will you face that challenge?
We made it a mission to not put things on our platform that were unattainable. And by that we mean we are passionate and determined and have already made the steps to make sure every single thing that is on our platform, even if it is something that has recently been submitted by a student, will be accomplished in our term. But something on it that it seems so simple to just say, oh, we're going to have more gender-neutral bathrooms, because you could just change the sign outside of the bathroom to be more inclusive to not one gender or the other. But that's not really the case. It may be more difficult because you have to create a culture on campus where the faculty, administration, and staff are already welcoming to having more gender-neutral bathrooms and creating those kinds of facilities.
I would say yes. To add on to that, changing culture here, whether it's safety, whether it's the community in general, is challenging. So I would say is just making strides in order to make certain initiatives as this accomplishable. Yeah.
Thank you. And now, going back to the issue of safety, Jessica and Luck, you say you want to advocate for more security on on-campus housing. And with last year's Tower 1 scare, this is a big concern for students. So tell me, how exactly will you mandate more security at on-campus housing?
That is truly just working with the Department of Housing and Residence Life, as well as the police department and the different security systems that we have. I live on campus, so I'm directly affected by this. I live in Tower 3, so when the Tower 1 incident happened, anyone who was living in any of the tower's facilities was feeling the impact of it. There was a lot of stress. There was, security things happening, and we were all getting the alerts for it. It's really that when I walk outside of towers, I know sometimes that the security systems aren't working. Like, I can see that you can't even see from the cameras. So really working with the RAs to know what's going on inside of the rooms of the students, looking for students of concern, but also making sure that the cameras are working properly, working with the police department to make sure students are making it to their dorm room safely and they don't feel like they're walking in the dark.
Yeah. I believe Jessica pretty much covered it.
Thank you. And now, Weston, Sydney, you want to advocate for better off-campus housing safety. So how exactly will you accomplish this?
Well, currently, and kind of at a personal level, my fraternity house is an off-campus house, and one thing that we always struggle with is security and safety. One of my brothers recently was actually held up at gunpoint, and that was something that really hit home. That's an area that we walk around all the time, and we really don't think about it. And when you have off-campus housing and on-campus housing that are both held to the same standards and regulations and rules that UCF sets, then that housing should really get the same safety as well. We had worked before with the police department, and we had called them and expressed our concerns, and they did come and patrol a little bit more. but that was just kind of a Band-Aid on the situation, and we want to make sure that we make a permanent mark where they're really aware of these students that live back there and make sure all off-campus housing is safe.
And thank you, candidates. When we come back, we'll take to social media and audience questions. But right now, it's time to find out what candidate Weston's passion is, as well as some of his UCF memories. We'll be right back. Yeah.
Air on the side of car. Also, I think this is a minute and a half break.
Was putting on a comedy show and seeing all the students come and have a good time and laugh, and was a success. Okay, so my most embarrassing moment was it was like the second week of class, and I was going to first week of class, and I was going to psychology, and I couldn't find the building. It was the first time I'd ever been there, and it was pouring down rain, and I was wearing white shorts, and they got completely soaked, and like I could see my boxers, and I was like asking this girl for directions, and it was embarrassing. Something that I love to do in my spare time is play golf. I learned when I was, I think, 11 or 12, and since then I've really come to love the game. I got involved with a program called First Tee, which taught me how to play golf, and they teach you life skills through golf. So that was something that really inspired me to go further with that, and I became a mentor and mentored a lot of kids with that and helped me grow my golf game. I was actually all district at my high school and #1 on my team, so it's something that I really love, and I have a really big passion for it even now that I don't play competitively.
And we are back live from the Nicholson School of Communication studio with the 2014 SGA Presidential Debate. This segment is dedicated to answering questions posted by students on social media and from our studio audience. Let's continue with this Twitter question for both candidates. CourtLob36 wants to know, which tenet of the UCF Creed do you think our university needs to improve most on, and how will you make these improvements? Let's have Jessica and Luck take this one.
Something that was really crucial to us when we came up with our platform and worked on our slogan was the idea of community and the pillar of community. It's something that we hold to a really high standard at UCF, but if we're supposed to create a safe and inclusive campus environment for every individual, then why do we have nights that don't feel safe and don't feel included in their student government association or just on campus in general? For us, it means something to make sure that regional students also feel included in what SGA is providing to them, as well as students that are non-gender binary, multicultural, or come from more non-traditional backgrounds.
I will say that when I was in the Marines, I traveled to 15 different countries. I had a very extensive cultural exposure. So when I came back to the United States and went for the first time here at UCF, obviously we have a diverse group of students here, but I realized that there's separate groups, that there's no inclusiveness, there's no interaction. So basically for me, what I realized that I feel really passionate about people of different background interacting with each other and ensuring that everybody's able to participate and contribute to the community.
Thank you. And now Weston and Sydney, your response?
I think community is definitely a big one for us, and that shows on our platform. But I think really what we lack in all of that is the creativity to do it. We have all the resources, we have all the money to do these things, but sometimes we're not creative with what we do. And I think with bringing in new ideas and different people who normally wouldn't be in SGA is important to that, to get those insights and really let people's creative natures run and have the best idea and multiple ideas where we can pick from it, and it's not just doing it because we did it last year.
I would definitely agree. Creativity is very important when stepping into office and you're trying to create these things for 60,000 students, for them to be engaged, for them to use these services, and you have to have creativity for them to use that. It's very important for us to get our voices across in a creative way, ways that will engage the students.
Thank you, candidates. And now our second Twitter question is from Night Fan Neil. He asks, how will you engage more students to attend sporting events besides football? Weston and Sydney?
I think UCF Athletics has done a really good job this past year of engaging more students. They initiated a program called Nightmare Rewards, but I think that's also something that people don't always know about and can't always take advantage of. It's something where you go to a sporting event, you swipe in, and you accumulate points, and then you can eventually use those points as an undergraduate or as alumni for getting tickets and different T-shirts and promo things like that. And I think we can expand upon that. And when we talk about our slogan, United, we want to bring all these sectors of campus together. We want to have a stronger relationship with athletics where we're helping them, they're helping us, and that would really help us move forward and bring more people to these athletic events and show our athletic nights, that we really do support them.
We also have baseball's going on right now, and we're sweeping the field with these wins. They might lose one game, but they're winning the next ones, and it's just getting that excitement going, that creativity, like we spoke about before, bringing this campus together, like Weston said, standing united together, making the excitement flow throughout campus, bringing the culture of excitement for the nights, and having a Fiesta Bowl win under our belts. I think that's just going to get students even more excited for football next year and for other sporting events.
Thank you. And now Jessica and Luck, your response?
I currently serve and will continue to serve on the Nightmare Advisory Board, which works directly between UCF Athletics and the rest of the campus with multiple sets of student leaders to increase attendance to different sporting events, not just UCF football. Something that is on our platform, we have an entire piece for athletics and traditions, so that focuses on increasing Nightmare Rewards points, increasing the way those work, the types of events, getting more students out to not football-related events as well as football to increase the trips they can go on, get them out to the spring football game, increasing what will happen there, RSO seating. We have a competition that'll be the Athletic Cup for Greek as well as RSOs to compete in to really increase numbers at all sporting events, not just football, but in reality, that'll increase football as well. Get the stands completely full, get everyone out there, get them excited because they realize that they don't stop being a night once they graduate. And if they start going to those sporting events now, not only will they see the rewards from the Student Government Association, they'll see them from athletics even when they become an alum.
Yes, what we hope to do with this section of our platform is to create a strong tradition and culture for students to actually, be passionate about, going out to these events, not just for football. Yes, that's the big event of the whole academic year, but it's basically making sure that students feel the pride, not just for one particular sport, but for all sports, because we really need to show our supports for all the athletic teams.
Thank you. And this next question comes from our live studio audience. It asks, what involvement have you had in creating a safe space for UCF LGBTQ students? Jessica and Luck?
My time at UCF, as well as my time before coming to UCF, was spent working with the LGBTQ plus community. I consider that my home on campus as well as off campus. I was the treasurer of Equal at UCF, and I also worked to lobby the Senate for the creation of Pride Coalition as an agency. My entire time here has really been spent, and Luck can elaborate on this too. We've both had the opportunity to work with the Zebra Coalition, work with multiple LGBTQ plus groups, working with Joe Saunders, our current representative, and making sure that there's a safe campus environment, but there's also a safe environment within the greater Orlando community. While he was up a day at the Capitol, he had the opportunity to speak with Joe Saunders on some of our platform points that include LGBTQ plus students. And we've been making it a point to use our personal pronouns so that other students feel comfortable doing that as well, so we can create a culture, to continue on from, because I haven't seen that in the past. And working with Equal, I really realized that there are a lot of students that are underrepresented and don't feel included.
Yes, like Jessica was saying, my involvement is outside of the UCF community, but I was actually participating or was involved with the Zebra Coalition, with the organization, with my RSO, Student Veterans of America. Basically, that's my involvement. And so hopefully, like Jessica was saying, create a culture that all students feel safe and included.
Thank you. And now Weston and Sydney, your response to this question?
Yeah, I've really been more on the planning side of making sure we have the facilities, we have the infrastructure to facilitate that community. I think that's a wonderful community that adds a lot to UCF, and it's often underappreciated and underrepresented. And with Pride Coalition, even though Pride Coalition is now no longer an agency, the Pride Commons space remains, and that will remain as a safe place for the LGBTQ plus community to come and enjoy their time and spend time together. And I think that's something that's very, very important. And with looking at MSC, I think that you really can't limit it to just the LGBTQ plus community. You also have to look at all the communities that are also represented in there. And with putting Pride Coalition in there, I think that we can really make a difference and make sure all those communities are represented and their accolades are known to the rest of the student body.
Being in an agency when Pride Coalition was an agency, I went on OSI retreat with them, and it was really interesting to to see their backgrounds, to hear from them what they wanted to see done, and they did get a lot accomplished this year, and it was really exciting to kind of see the backhands of it in OSI as they were working on it.
Thank you. And our next question will also come from Twitter. A tweet of Gilmore wants to know, what will you do to increase the engagement and ultimately affinity of UCF's Direct Connect students over the long run? Jessica and Luck?
That's actually really great considering that he does work with transfer and transition services, but we've both had the opportunity to travel to regional campuses, work with student outreach services to really see how the Direct Connect students feel. So it won't be just an academic thing, it'll be a community thing. We want them to feel like when they get here or even prior to getting here, we've worked to facilitate their transition. We've made them feel safe on campus, included on campus. We're working with, advising in their courses, but we've also updated the orientation process and we're working with the administration to do so.
Yes, with the regional campuses, what I realized that, yes, there is SOS or student outreach services. However, there's a disconnect with the SGA and SOS personnel over there, because when I went and visited the regional campuses, Amy Archibald and Michelle, as well as the other their counterparts, they really explained their concerns because there is no connection or lack of communication, I would say.
Thank you. And now Weston and Sydney, your response?
Yeah, I was actually speaking with a transfer student today and talking about this, and they really felt as though they didn't even know where to start. And it was just all kind of overwhelming coming from a different campus to a giant campus like this as the Orlando campus. And where that really starts and where that disconnect starts, I think, is in that transfer orientation. There's a lot that's lacking in that, and people don't really take the time to kind of revamp that. I know as an SGA representative that I go and speak at some of the freshman orientations during the summer, but we're never called for the transfer orientations, and I think that's a big issue. We want to make sure that we're giving the same opportunity to all the students, and whether they're a junior or freshman, they have the same opportunity to succeed. And some of the transfer students that I've seen have done great things on this campus. I mean, you look at Andy, who ran for president last year. I mean, that's a big deal, and he was a transfer student from Valencia. So they have the opportunity and they have the drive to do it, but I think we just need to make sure that we give them the facilitating opportunity as well.
And I actually sit on the SDS Advisory Council with Dr. Ehas, and we had 4 representatives from the transfer students, and we spoke to them on changing it. Like Weston said, we were talking about changing those orientations, and so those conversations are happening, and I have sat in those conversations.
And thank you, candidates. We're going to take a short break, but stay with us. Right now, learn what Vice Presidential candidate Luck does in his spare time, as well as his special talent. The Nightly News SGA Presidential Debate will be right back.
That was
My name is Luck. I'm a senior, and my major is political science with minors in business, economic policy, and sociology. I'm a brother of Theta Chi fraternity. I basically, we help out a lot, or I help out a lot with, the certain activities that we do. We just actually completed our GI Theta Chi event, which we raised over $11,000. And as for Student Veterans of America, I'm the secretary for that organization. I would say recently it would be Mr. UCF competition. That by far is my favorite moment. All the people that participated, Quinn, Katie, these guys, they're going to represent UCF really well, and I'm really happy that they got the title and they're going to do well. I would say my favorite hobby would be Besides dancing, playing piano. Yeah.
When did you start playing piano?
When I was 13. So.
What can you play?
Wow. Various things: jazz, classical, pop. You name it. Anything with a chord or notes, I can do it.
And welcome back to the RTDNA SGA Presidential Debate. We're here live with the candidates running to be your next student body president and vice president. Now, we want to give them each a chance to ask each other a question they feel is important. Each ticket will be able to ask their opponents one question with a 2-minute response and a 1-minute follow-up question. Jessica and Luck, you will start. What questions do you have for Weston and Sydney?
I wanted to ask what you plan to do in the next year if elected for making students feel more included. I know your slogan is Stand United, but if you could just elaborate on what pieces of the platform you feel do that the most.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, we have community as a big part of our platform. It's one of the big things on there. And serving in all these different areas and being on this campus for 3 years now, I think that we have a pretty good understanding of where students aren't represented, and I think that there's a definite lack in representation of different groups on this campus. We really want to make sure that we're working with the MSC and SOS and all these different groups to make sure that these students do feel included. And I think it starts at the very bottom with students being educated and understanding how to work with different populations and understand their needs and facilitate them as well.
Being a Rosen student, I do see the disconnect of other Rosen students that don't really know what's going on. They don't really know the applications that are open. So, I do have that, that feeling of I want to help them and I want to make sure that they are getting included in everything. So I know that we definitely have that thought process. We have the knowledge of what needs to be done. So we'll definitely be implementing that if elected in our cabinet as well as our administration.
Jessica and Luck, do you have a follow-up question?
You said you're implementing what? And I know you talked about being creative. So what? I guess what creative initiatives would you implement in order to ensure this?
Yeah, I think when you look at what we would do with our cabinet, of making sure the cabinet there's a position that's really directly connected to different groups and making sure that you're outreaching to them. You have, if you talk about Pride Commons and MSC and the different areas on this campus that those students kind of congregate, we want to make sure that they're able to congregate out of there as well. They're able to come into SGA and they feel comfortable, and same with going in there. I think that a lot of students are not necessarily feel like they should go into Pride Commons and learn something, and we want to make sure that that is a huge thing of giving the students opportunity to come in and get educated and just making it more visible.
We've also had talk of bringing up a new cabinet position for outreach service. It actually has been done in years past, and it was taken away. And Weston and I have definitely been talking about, if elected, we'd be bringing back that position.
Thank you. And Weston and Luck, what do you want to know? Weston and Sydney, what do you want to know from Jessica and Luck?
I think a question to you guys would be, if elected and at the end of your term, where would you really like to see everything and have people say about you?
I really want students, and I know we've talked about this a lot. It was part of, coming up with our platform and coming up with our slogan, is I just want students to feel like their voices have been heard. I want them to feel like there isn't that disconnect anymore. Like you said, where they feel welcome into the SGA office and to other spaces on campus. I want them to feel like, for the first time, the barriers that have been up for them, whether they be visible ones or not, are broken. I want them to feel like they can come up and have a conversation with us and feel like, they've had FaceTime with us. They've had FaceTime with student leaders, and they haven't felt that the student leaders were not as approachable or that it wasn't a safe space for them.
I would say that really moving the culture in a way where, again, all students are safe and they feel safe and included. And so hopefully, if elected at the end of the term, is something where we actually impacted the culture of the students here to feel more passionate about being a UCF Knight, and also having that concern for everybody or the community of UCF, because that's something I feel really passionate about, is for everyone to feel like they're a part of the community.
Yeah, we really want students to feel like they've felt that culture that they maybe haven't seen before, to really be proud of being a Knight and be able to meet new students and meet other students on campus. We want them to feel like less of a number, because even if we make it a mission, and other student body presidents and vice presidents have done so, even the current administration, we all know that they've made it a point to make the students feel like they're more than a number, but there's still some out there that still feel like a number, and we want to reach out to those students.
Weston and Sydney, do you have a follow-up question?
So like he was talking about leaving some kind of legacy, if you could implement just one service and you had like an unlimited budget, what would be one service that you would want to see your administration leave?
I personally, it's on our platform, and I keep talking about the SGA Ambassadors Program, but it's because we are really passionate about it. It won't take funding, but if we did have the funding, I wish we could make it that much bigger and that much better to really bring students together, because it's something where students on regional campuses or on the Orlando campus of any year or any involvement can really come together, even if this person's in an RSO, this person's in an agency, this person's Greek, this person's not. There will still be times throughout the year where they come together.
Actually, you and I actually were talking about this a while ago, in terms of having a program where you get a group of students from different areas of campus, and what will happen is like having a system where they have initiatives they have to accomplish throughout the academic year. And I think that something like JLC is great, but having something that will extend throughout the whole academic year, because once you leave a program like JLC or other diversity programs like that, it tends to wane away. And so having something that is consistent throughout the semester or throughout the academic year, that's something like an idea that I would like to hopefully accomplish.
And thank you, candidates. Now time for a short break, but don't go anywhere, because Vice Presidential candidate Sydney Altfield tells us about her hero and a special trip she took before coming to UCF. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Sydney Altfield, and my major is Event Management with the Rosen of Hospitality. I would say my sorority, Alpha Epsilon Phi. I'm the president, and I rushed my first freshman year. And ever since then, I knew that that's where like my leadership would develop, where my relationships with my friends would develop, and I gave all my time and effort into that. And I've really grown into the person that I am today. The friendships that I fostered, the leadership skills that I've developed has all been because of that. I actually took a year off in between high school and college. I took a gap year. I lived in Israel for 9 months, and I studied abroad. So I technically should be a senior, but I deferred my acceptance to UCF. And when I came here, it was obviously a hard transition, but I was like nervous if I would like it, coming back from a foreign country, but I could not imagine myself anywhere else. I mean, look where I am today, running for student body vice president. But that's a little something that no one really knows about me. I would say my dad is my role model. He is actually going through a campaign just like myself. He's up for re-election for judge in Miami-Dade County. So, seeing him go to all these events, do all these things, put out his signs, put out his posters, make his Facebook page, he was doing this a few months back. I never thought I would be there doing this. And having seen his dedication, his hard work and ethics, and it's just really inspired me to do what I'm doing now, and it's really helped me push me along the way to be like, I want to be just like him, I want to win, and hopefully he wins too. And it would just be great if come the end of the school year, he wins, I wins, that would be like the perfect plan.
And once again, welcome back from the RTDNA SGA Presidential Debate, live from the Nicholson School of Communication studio. We've come close to the end of the debate, but we still have one more question left for the candidates. We want to close our debate with a question that brings out the best in our beloved university. What is your favorite UCF tradition and why? Weston and Sydney?
I mean, I think Sydney and I both agree on this full-heartedly that we love homecoming. We've both served on the board, and it's something that brings current students together, future and past students, back to this university, and to really celebrate the tradition that we've had. I mean, in 51 years, we've done so much, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to come together and celebrate that.
I honestly couldn't say it better myself.
Jessica and Luck, what is your favorite tradition and why?
My favorite UCF tradition is actually one of the more recent ones. I would say Nightathon, just to see so many Knights come together and stand for, this year, 20 hours to raise money for something in the greater Orlando community. So really bringing the entire university together for something bigger than themselves.
I would say actually both of them, homecoming and Nightathon. Being able to go to these events, I was participating, or I actually attended both of them. So it was just like exciting. So I really love these two programs. So yeah.
Thank you, candidates. And that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for participating in the 2014 SGA debate. If you would like to see the full debate again, you can visit nightlynews.ucf.edu. You can also watch coverage of both campaigns this Friday at 1:30 p.m. on Nightly News. We would also like to give a special thanks to all of the faculty and staff and students of the Nicholson School of Communication for their assistance in today's debate. And a huge thank you to the Radio Television Digital News Association at UCF and the SGA Election Commission. From all of us here at the Nicholson School of Communication, have a great evening.